Sure enough, every time I come to the US, like he makes time for me for years, and we always hang out. And sometimes when you can meet some of these salon go and they get me talk. He is one. Get me talk. He was trying to make his $1 million investment. We just could scale global. I'm like, hey, my brother, please. We just met. I don't need this is unnecessary. But every time I met him, the scale of what he wanted to do was really global and international. Like I said, I've lived. I've met a lot of our Niners in my day. So, in fact, the bigger you sound with what you say you're gonna do, the more side eye you get from me. I will listen, but I'm like, I'm like, no, not idiots. Yesterday I'm born. But he was always genuine. So every time I came, we connected. And so, I watched him grow. The big talk has turned to big action and big growth. And now his company, Grovara, is the leading marketplace for, I want to say, organic and healthy consumer goods in the US. And what they're doing, they basically, no matter where you're in the world, if you're making top line, top branded organic goods and products, you can get access to distribution here in the US. So you go make you healthy something in Mexico, so I just come out, and they give you access to US markets, which is amazing. Everything, please give a round of applause for the co-founder of Grovara and founder of the Abu Kamara Foundation, my very, very good friend, Big Bang Business. No, you have to be. You have to give it the for yourself.
You get mic. You get other mic.
Is your mic on? So, Abu is an entrepreneur. And when I met him, he was already an entrepreneur. He had started his company with a friend of his. And this was several years ago, and anybody can start any business, but just because you started doesn't mean it can grow. But his company is growing, and they're preparing for a second round of fundraising. Over Christmas, I was in Sierra Leone, and Abu reached out to say that he, through his foundation, the Abu Kamara Foundation, he was working to support the first ever national robotics and innovation competition in Sierra Leone for high schoolers. Why? Yes, round of applause. Why robotics, right? And why innovation? I know everybody talks about it all the time, but why is that so important, making that accessible for young people in Sierra Leone?
Okay, first of all, thank you so much, sis, for great events. We need this space there. We'll go for campus, a lot of people there. We'll go for talk for opportunity and network with each other. So this time is this time. Open salon. This interview has kids. Absolutely. The man don't talk for English. So my name is Abu Kamara, like my sister say. Our company we call Grovara. We're a company of 31 people. We return to 50 employees by the end of this year. We're lucky for get some good investors that now we believe in we. And we did transform global together. And a big idea, you will say within, man like me from Salon, Canada, America, would for impact American business. But it's about just knowing what you want, believing in yourself, and having an innovative idea. So, but the question we ask, I get one of them mentioned in Alimami, yes sir, and I did so. Alimami, he can for be a future NASA scientist. Here you can see our Yoki. We don't work for roughly 2 years now. Alimami work very hard for primary school picking there and secondary school picking there all across Salon. What I know say Salon get very smart people there. Even at this school. But we not ever get the opportunity for get person we believe in we go invest in. So I know say we always there now Salon. So we see the opportunity for the robotics for create an innovative space for the beginning from 10 years old till then 19, 20 years old. let them get access to computer. This event will do. Now, actually, 5 schools that come up with Salon. Freetown, Tego, Kenema, they come together, picking them. Almami mentors some of the picking them. Now, they write the young code, and they build the robotics there. So we end up for Costa at the Mamioko Hotel, now Freetown. So that'll be good opportunity. Allow you there, just for wrap up the answer no more. We dey move now for create an innovation center. Now the first innovation center, number 1, for be co-founded by an African youth. Number 2, for be run by a youth. So I dey go Salon June, we dey go playground, we don't rent space, we dey transform the whole space. By December, by God in power, me pass that in our hope, we dey open a center where hundreds of youth in our salon will get chance for car. Learn the innovation. The goal is in the next 10 years, Salon will be the new innovation capital in Africa.
We have said the talking big. It's in general one of the things that always attracted me to Abu was, even though I'm doubtful, but he's so confident about what he says that eventually, first you get inside out, and next you're like, how are we doing this? Yes, what's going on? We are behind you. Absolutely. But it is so refreshing to meet somebody who is thinking really big, right? Because as Sierra Leonean, a lot of times we're afraid. We're afraid for do big thing because we're always afraid of failing. And we're always afraid of what people are going to say and how they're going to think. So we tend to kind of, even when you do well, you're covering it. Why? Because if you yams white, cover that. They're just we're conditioned to be afraid to shine, to be brilliant. And so, meeting somebody like Abu, who's not afraid to talk to millions, but he's also following it up with action. I've always just felt like that's just an amazing thing, right? Let enjoyment back, so that's something sad. Okay, how did you go about mobilizing, setting up the structure to mobilize the people? I know the resources come from you, but how did you get all these kids together? How did you actually step by step, okay, I have this idea, how did you put it into action? Because I know a lot of people want to get into service in Sierra Leone, but you don't really always know how do I then make sure it is impactful?
Yeah, well, you last question talk, Emmanuel talked about the need to collaborate, partnership. So the angle I come from, first of all, I know saying for youth innovation, the person will know the need more than anybody than the youth there. So I began to believe in the younger generation. From a culture, we were all small, we not get the respect for partner with the beginning for listen to the idea. So the idea for the innovation center itself come from our UK. I go shout out right now. Our UK, we're 16 years old. He built solar panel for 15 poles there, right outside of Kenema. 16 years old, never spoke to this. We're 16 years old. The Window Youth Innovator of the Year, Salon. So what else better for partner with? For listen to them and for building an idea up and support her. So I get partnership with youth right now. So and I'm the first co-founder of a youth innovation center in Africa right now. So we've been to Nigeria, I'm going to South Africa, I'm going to
Abu is also very cool.
Salon, we need for
very
step up to that level. Salon get plenty of opportunities. People that can say with resources now, diamond, gold, whatever, but believe say the resources and not the people.
Okay. I mean, one of the things I saw you do even before you started working with the youth was I did see you hobnobbing with the usual suspects. He goes salon, he was with the celebrities, the big newsmakers. They were all talking about this entrepreneurship thing, and he's a big guy, so he went with the big boys. What is the difference between that set of people who everybody kind of put on pedestals to say these are appointed leaders or business people versus working with the youth? What is the discord? I see why they shaking it.
Sister, one knows this stuff. My sister Sabi setting up. I know I'm being political right now, but maybe I can give you a political answer.
Okay, a diplomatic answer. Diplomatic, yes.
So, what I know say the people that are within our salon right now, in the front of entrepreneurship, they don't really have an entrepreneurship background. They blackboard their chalk. You don't ever build company to a certain level, right? So, I mean, they go with them, but as you say, at the end of the day, you need them. Because entrepreneurship, you need the ecosystem. So, we know how to work with them to a certain level, but the future of entrepreneurship, now the youth, and now people like you and me, looking for work with the younger generation.
I'm glad you're including yourself in this youth bracket, my dear. I mean, you have aged out. You have aged out. I just want to make it clear.
Age is nothing but the number. How you feel?
True, but the limit for youth na salon na 35. When you don't pass 35, you are no longer a youth. Do not be letting this small boy please, you are not a youth again.
Why is in the head? Look at the heart.
Okay, so for people who are here in the diaspora, some of I think the issues they have usually is trust, right? I have X amount of resources, I care about education, or I care about technology, or I care about health, and I want to make an impact, but at a place say, when I carry this money go at Senna, it not go reach who side I want. How do you overcome that?
I mean, I gotta be honest, I think it's luck.
Okay.
Because salon and salon at the end of the day, right? But I get a talent for feel energy. So, and I look at the stack record too, like at Mami Diana, only for 5+ years the struggle for make engineering something as salon. You don't spend your money, go South Africa and conferences there. I'm in small picking, 16 years old, he put solar panel and 50 hosts. You get for toast and for take risk. So partner look at people that and you invest based on that. Not go invest no more because they can't talk. Now, talk is a good game, but you gotta see what people do. Even you said it. With me when you and I met, man get big idea there. But you see the
Please, Abu, you are scaring me.
They say if the idea don't scare you, you don't get idea. Right? So you get to look at people that and build trust. And you have to take love too, because anything in life, entrepreneurship included, is a whole of guys. But so far, thank God it's been good. Trust me, I've been burned before in Sierra Leone. 10 years, remember what we do that thing? I want to transform pharmaceutical distribution. I got burned by members of the government.
And well, in that game. Okay. This party wants to carry this conversation. We will not go there. Election is 2023. We will not be doing any. Nobody not a carry called me, put on a Facebook, say, I was not there. Please, I don't know. Please. Now, in one way. But yeah, so I think what you said is really true. One of my favorite parables or sayings from Ghana is, the one who is climbing a good tree is the one that you should push up. And time again, even with me in Sierra Leone, what I've experienced in business is, there are lots of people who are very visible, but they don't necessarily have the track record, but they have access to platforms and they have access to relationships, and so you see them a lot. And I think one of the biggest challenges with being in the diaspora is, all you have is Facebook and WhatsApp, right? So when they see people and they post, but na can take a like for say, the way I saw that you see they walk, this guy. Look there at the dirty box, look there, look they're not going under, look they're not doing this, it's about with Bill Gates. Oh, picture. The reality is, if you're really busy building something in Sierra Leone, you don't have time, right? And that's just the fact. Lastly, I want you to speak a little bit too, because you're an entrepreneur in the US. And I feel like there's so many potential entrepreneurs here in the US who are in our community who could be in business, but they're afraid, because when I'm in America, they tell them, say the only way for do anything American, I for go be nurse. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a nurse or nursing or the medical profession. However, it's like they limit you before you ever really discover. They take away and they're so afraid. So before you even ever discover the potential, what America could be for you, maybe you're opening the next McDonald's, it will be Isatus, whatever. You don't do that because when you kind of say, let's see, now for go do living, now for go do LPN, now that's in America. So people who may come from even entrepreneurial backgrounds in Sierra Leone, say mama na trader, papa de pan business, they never do this because it's like we don't allow ourselves to access the American market. If you could just kind of like speak to what it is kind of what it's been for you to leave that comfort zone of like waiting that they tell me now in community for venture out for build a company not just in America but like a global company. What was it in you like that was not afraid to venture in this way, and why should all of us be thinking about solving these national American and global problems? I know it's big.
No, that's a loaded question. I thank you for that. Like there's always fear, man who can't say no more, man who they fear, nah lie, we'll get some fear. But you have to be create small, right? So you have to be a little bit of crazy, a little bit open, and you also have to believe in yourself. Luckily I get me, Papa will raise me, and I be entrepreneur, Salo said I be businessman. So from at 6-7 years old, I see how they operate, that they inspire me. So what I carry now, I begin that mindset. But now, also the people that we surround yourself with, they're very important. They're very important. For me, well, you see what they videotape, man. Like madly. So let the guys support structure. God, family, work, friends, certain family member there, I naturally can attach myself to people that will mean something about me. So you gotta really take risk. There's a level of fear, but you can't forget calculated risk. You get for people see the vision, and you get for backtrack and map it out, and you get for really, guys, being just being troublesome because trust me, my company for don't fail 5 to 6 times. Tanga is stubbornness. You see when we is small, there's some people that we small, Tanga is stubborn, so man is stubborn. But now it's just believing in God. It's really just knowing that there is a risk and you will feel fear. There's some fear in you, but you get to overcome that by faith in God. And the people that we surround yourself for family, and you have to be confident in your goal. The road never slips. So like I said, man don't fail 5, 6, 10. I mean, I am there fail, but I believe in what you have to solve. And a real problem will get for being value, and I always get big ideas. I don't get excited about small. Even though with Palace now, I always say small to me is just take your time. Right? Not saying a small idea there. But I believe we need so back in development. The only way we will develop now big ideas. So I rather feel big than for trying to go small. So nothing I make up.
Thank you so much, Abu. Round of applause for that.